Today we got a very special.
I'll go first. Welcome to Coach's Corner podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy, and my co-host, Coach B, also goes by Brian, is our football expert, loves the X's and O's.
Expert. That's a little crazy.
That's what I said last time, and you said the same shit
Is
last
it?
time. He said, "You're a football expert, bro."
Nah,
I don't know what the fuck, what kind of system you talking about.
you put that on me, and then it's gonna be a shit show if everybody's like, oh, as some expert doesn't know how to do this. Today we got a real treat for y'all. We got a very special guest, former NFL wide receiver, a legend at the University of Missouri. He actually worked at the University of Missouri for a while as the coordinator of player development. Former head coach, Will Franklin. How was that? That was that?
That was good, yeah.
He fired. He's open. Beautiful catch. Touchdown.
We're on.
Whenever you're ready, Jimbo.
Perfect. So we'll just jump right in. We have a couple questions for you. Love to get to know your story, but our first question for you was we want to start off kind of where you started in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we saw that you transferred from Beaumont to Vashon. Is that how you say it? Vashon High School.
Yeah.
To finish out your senior year. Just curious, like, what was the catalyst for that change?
For me, I had friends over at Vashon High School, and when I was at Beaumont, I was seeing a bunch of those guys go to college, and it's just like, maybe I need to put myself in a position or around other athletes that are striving to go to college. And I seen the opportunity over there, and it was probably one of the best decisions I made as a 16-year-old kid in high school was putting yourself in position to accomplish a goal.
Sweet. Awesome.
What was your recruiting process like?
Early on, so I was more into basketball, man. My first couple of years of high school, my freshman, sophomore year, I was heavy into basketball. I only played 2 years of high school football. Really was my sophomore year and my senior year. My sophomore year, I kind of, got out there and made all conference on offense and defense. Still wasn't loving the game in itself. I was chasing the round ball, man. If anybody knows anything about me, man, I love basketball. And so that was more of my passion and love. Just so happened to go out there and play football, man. And it was kind of easy. You know what I mean? Scary because I never had played football, but kind of easy. And I actually started taking a liking to it. When I transferred to Vashon, it went away because I had to sit out for transferring from league school to league school. You couldn't do that back then. So I had to sit out my junior year because I transferred from one public high school to another public high school. And what they say, put the dog inside of you. That's sitting out. I sit out a whole entire year, and I miss every sport from basketball to football to track, and kind of made me more hungrier. Made me focus more on my academics so that I wouldn't have any issue with getting into college. And then from there, my senior year, just like letting the wild animal out of the cage into the jungle again.
Dang,
was Missouri your top school?
They were my first offer. They actually offered me the summer of my sophomore year, and they lost me when I transferred to Vashon. And so happened the head coach at the time, Melvin Walls at Beaumont, let him know that I transferred to Vashon, and they came over to Vashon and started recruiting me from there. So they were the only ones that kind of like jumped on me early and kept the interest early. By senior year, it got kind of crazy. Everyone started coming out of the woodworks by mid-season of my senior year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What were some of those other teams? And I guess just like, were you always like when they offered you, like they've stuck around? Were you like, I'm going Missouri no matter what, or was it you really had some strong interest?
It got to that point in my senior year. Because throughout my junior year at Vashon, they were the only school that actually came in and checked on me and my academics. Again, I wasn't eligible, really not a known player at that time. We didn't have the platforms that we have now for someone to really follow you and understand the dynamics of what you have going on. So uh, they made it feel more personally sticking with me throughout that process. So going into my senior year, I committed to Mizzou early, but it didn't stop the big schools. Michigan was another one that I liked. That was we had the same helmets. Our logos are the Wolverines, so our helmets in high school were like the Wolverines. So I had a big interest in there. Went on an unofficial, and Mario Manning and myself was on a visit. And I was actually going to commit there when I was on this visit in Antarctica, and I didn't, and end up sticking with my commitment to Mizzou. And when other schools came in, the Michigan States at that time, Missouri was a Big Ten type landmark. A lot of schools from the Big Ten came in. Wisconsin was big in the area. Michigan State. Who else? Michigan. Those were like the predominantly big schools that were coming in and getting a lot of kids that out of the Midwest. And so for me, I was kind of like the oddball that went to a Big 12 school at that time during them times.
What was the transition like? Obviously, you being a dude in your high school, but then going and getting on campus as a freshman at Mizzou, getting around all these other dudes from their school.
Man, that was the hardest transition. I think every kid, every player, especially going to Division I schools, go through that transition, man. And that transition is, you go from being the guy who's getting all the coverage from media wise, getting all the coverage from other teams and being talked about to you get to a college and you get on a roster and now you're talking about nationwide guys who have made all conference, some honorable mention, and they're playing in front of you in these rooms. And it's just like how do I get myself to even be considered in the same breath with those guys? And for me, I had a good group of senior guys. I had a former teammate of mine from high school that was already in the room. And so my transition of learning how to be a college athlete wasn't as hard as some others because I had some guys that were already there and they really took me by the hand and was like, this is how you go about being a college athlete. And then for me, it was just about setting goals. And my number one goal was just make the travel team. Uh,
Mhm.
when you get to college, it's like, man, well, not too many freshmen play, not especially not back then. Not too many
Mhm.
freshmen play, so I just wanted to make the travel squad. And I look up, I think he was like 2 weeks into camp, and I was on a 2 depth. I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, and the first game, I got my shirt burnt because back then you play it down, your shirt was burnt.
Mhm.
Unlike now, where you can get
Yeah,
4
you get
games.
4, yeah, 4
These
whole
guys get
games. It's
four
craziness.
games, man, and
Craziness.
to
Yep.
redshirt. You know what I mean? So I think I still got a year eligibility in college left.
And never too late.
It's
Never
never
too
too
late.
late, But that transition of going and making my way to that 2 depth and uh, continue to take whatever steps that I got, whether it was in practice with the Warrens or getting the opportunity to go in as a third receiver. At that time, we were a two-receiver set with tight end, with double tight end. So we didn't transition until Chase got there to more of a spread set. But my first year there, we was like traditional old school football.
And you hit on that offensive stuff. I want to come back to that in a little bit, but talking about when Chase got there, and in 2007, you guys ended the regular season at the number 1 spot, going 11-1. What
Yeah.
was that like being like looking at the poll and be like, "Whoa, shit, we're the number 1 team in the country."
Man, it was crazy because my freshman year we went 5-6. And what's crazy, the team my freshman year, we had 11 to 12 guys get drafted off their roster. Super talented roster, super good. But the camaraderie of what we had my senior year was totally night and day. Super talented team my freshman year, even more talent my senior year, but more guys willing to do more for the next person and not so much self. And so when I look back on it, it was just like, man, you went from shit to sugar in 4 years, literally, and being number one in the country for that week, ending the regular season on a high note, and just seeing where we were as a program and start to get that national notoriety. Man, it was amazing feeling, man, and still to this day, that's what a lot of fans talk about of being in that spot. And it's crazy. We only lost to one team that year, which was Oklahoma. You know what I mean? Like we really had them at Oklahoma. The Big 12 championship game, it was kind of one sided there. But you know what I mean? If we would have snuck out one of those two games, and this time, we entered the season that year after Arkansas at number 14 in the country. And with the BCS polls and what they are now, like we have been playing in the big BCS bowl back then.
Yep.
We were playing in those times and these times now.
I mean, to me, that 017 really put Missouri on the map, and it propelled them to, I think, was it 2011, 12 when they went to the SEC? Like, without that team, no one would have ever considered putting Missouri into the SEC.
Yeah,
That team really jump-started the whole deal, man. It's
yeah, man.
crazy.
We had some dudes during them times, man, and it continued on with Blaine, with Gabbard and Sheldon Richardson and so forth, so on. Alden
Mhm.
Smith and all those guys came after us. Based off those years, we had my junior and senior year. My junior year, we really got out there. My senior year, we really let everybody know we can really play some football. Um, and those guys, man, Coach Pinkel and that staff went on to win 10 plus games the next 5 years straight.
Mhm.
And put a lot
Yeah.
of guys in the NFL, first rounders, and so forth, so on. So to be able to be a part of that whole shift, and especially to see where they are right now, and being able to compete in the SEC is huge.
Definitely.
Yeah. Um, you know, I know you said you only played 2 years high school ball and then a couple years in college, and you got drafted to the NFL in the 4th round. I guess just kind of, we keep talking about transition and going from there to college to the NFL. What was that experience like for you?
Oh man, it's a dream come true. You work your tail off, man. And most guys, and I know for me, I didn't realize like how close you are to the NFL when you're in college. Like you're a freshman, like you're just in the class, and all these different things come with it, and you finally become a winner in college. Our sophomore year, we went to Shreveport for a bowl game, which was Brad Smith's senior year, and we won a game. And so we had a little momentum going into my junior year, and it was going to be Tate's first time starting. So we had some momentum going because we knew we were going to pass the ball a lot, and not so much of a run option that we were running with Brad. And it kind of took off from there. And I think it was my junior year that like I was one of the top guys in the country receiving yards and catches and that thing. And I was thinking about coming out. And I could never forget the phone call I got from it was Rucker, Morton T. Rucker, man. Ruck called me. He's like, this is an inside joke. Like, hey sucker, you can't leave us yet. And so I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I got it. Like at the time I had just got, you know what I mean? Like I was lost a teammate that previous summer, with Aaron O'Neal there, and was thinking about taking care of my family and getting to the next level. And I was like, man, I don't think I'm coming back. And I look up like all the guys on offense from Rucker to Chase to J Mac who had just got there, who tore his ACL that year. He just like, man, I ain't gonna get a chance to play with you. We both St. Louis guys, and I'm like, man, I gotta get to the league. And so ended up making the decision to come back after talking with my teammates, my family, and Coach Pinko and Coach Hill. Just made the decision to come back, and uh, the senior year couldn't have went any better than what it went. With the teammates that I had, uh, the support I had from the friends and family, the university, uh, and go out as a senior, number one at point, finished the season at number 4 in the country. Going to the next level was just like, all right, it's here. how much harder do I have to work then? And that transition there was pretty amazing, man. Going from a college student and going to class and working out to all you do is work out. You work on your craft, you work on your body, you work on your mental. And that transition there is something that a lot of us don't get the chance to experience. Going to the combine, that was an experience in itself. Did I know that I was going to run a 4.3 at the combine? No. It happened, and I was just as surprised as the clocks that were out there. Like, what? I can remember myself, Lavelle Hawkins, Matt Ryan, Jake Long. We all trained in API in Arizona, and so of course, me, Matt, and Lavelle Hawkins, we all was on that Sunday where we ended up having to throw and do all the things. And
Oh, yeah.
when I ran the 4.3, I see Maddie's face, and Maddie was just like, "You did." It's quiet in the dome, man. Like
Yeah.
it's quiet. You see all these GMs and owners and all these guys in the stands, so it's quiet. Like we really nervous. Like no one's there is like super excited and confident. Like we nervous, and I remember them guys coming over to celebrate with me. Like, man, you know what you just did, and telling the scouts from that point, like, man, I'll be at the pro day. Like I'm not doing nothing else here.
That's
I'm a
that Indy
relaxed.
track, man.
Meet me
I
in
heard it makes you
Columbia for
fast.
the pro day. I do all the workouts from there, and I went back to the room and I cried, man. I called my mom and I cried because I knew I had solidified myself as a guy that can go out there and run an elite time. And I know what I did in college, catching the ball, watching things that I get an opportunity. Did I know I was going to get drafted? Where I was going to get drafted, no. But I knew I had a good chance.
Yeah, I mean, did you? I'm always curious about how the draft process kind of works. Did you have any inkling going into making your decision of, especially in your junior year, like I'm gonna come out, I'm not gonna come out, of where you might get drafted before you made that decision?
So you get pre-draft, like my junior year, I got a pre-draft grading. When I explored, I told Coach Pinkel that, I'm thinking about leaving. He was like, we can get an evaluation to see where you're going to go. And I pretty much got the same draft grade, third or fourth round kind of guy, my junior year. And I was just like, man, this what these guys making, I go,
Yeah.
and going into that situation until my senior year where I was at the combine and all those things, you had that, but no one knew what type of times I would run. But that year, no receiver went. Donnie Avery went into the second round my year. So no receiver went first round in 2008. Donnie Avery was the first one off the board. The Rams took him, and then it kind of went from there with Vashon and all the guys. But it was different because you assuming you run a 4.3, you're definitely gonna be a first, second round guy. But that year it was lineman heaven, like Jake Long, Chris
Yeah.
Long, Brandon, what is it? Brandon Albert and Glenn Dorsey. Like it was O-line and D-line heaven that year. And a few quarterbacks with Maddie. Who else came out that year? Quarterback Matt Ryan, some other guys. So it was a tough draft for receivers that year.
Yeah, too bad the Raiders didn't need a receiver because they would have taken you top 10.
Man,
They
so
had that
what's
pick,
crazy
right?
is they took Darius Hayward Bay the next year.
Yeah.
I
It
remember
didn't work
being
out well.
there and man, it was crazy because when he got to the team, guys was like, man, this guy can't catch and all this different stuff, man. It was crazy, man. But yeah, man, I remember that whole process because they were asking me about J-Mac. At one point, J-Mac was big on the Raiders board. And but they went for speed. Al Davis is a guy that like big, tall receivers and speedy receivers. So Al went with the big, tall receiver.
Yep.
So once you got into the league and you got drafted by the Chiefs in the fourth round, Chan Gailey was your OC right there first
Mm-hmm.
year.
Mm-hmm.
How much different was his offense than Coach Christensen's? Because I know that from what I've seen or what I've been able to gather of Gailey in his past, he ran Earhart Perkins' offense, which not a lot of guys tend to run. It's like that kind of New England Bill Parcells type stuff. So how much different was it than what you ran in college?
It was a lot different for me, in the sense of I was had me at X, but when I got to the Chief, I worked my way up to the three depth as a third receiver. So I came in as a slot. So you had Dwayne Bowe on the outside, Donald McDorvin on the outside, and then I would come in as a third receiver. Then we got Mark Bradley. And so I would always come in as a third down kind of receiver. And so I had to learn two positions at one time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it wasn't extremely hard. A lot of, everyone would tell you a lot of terminology is just changing, but the routes, concepts, and all those things are things that you probably have done at some point in your life, whether it's in college or high school. Uh,
Yep.
and that's what's crazy because it's just the terminology. It's how
Different
this OC
language.
worded versus this OC, and the transition, the transition of learning just how to be a pro was more so harder than it was actually learning a playbook from a spread offense. Because again, I ran kind of pro style offense my freshman year. So if I knew I was an X, you were X. If you were an H, you were an H. If you were a Z, you were a Z. And that's kind of how that offense was my rookie year until after Brody went down. We went through like two,
Mhm.
three more quarterbacks, and we got to Daniel.
Big Pen and
Yeah, you know what I mean? Think pen, and when we went to thick pen, we kind of went no huddle. So it was more like, okay, cool. Like I got no huddle. Like we all
Yeah.
wristbands.
Yeah.
Cool. I can run and have some little fun. But no, that wasn't hard, man. I think if you're a true student of the game and really put in your time, uh, you can learn any offense or any defense. Saying that you put your mind to.
How much game were you able to soak up from the great Tony Gonzalez when you were there?
This was crazy. Tony Lockers was next to mine,
Wow.
uh, and that was like every day just seeing him, just how he prepare. No, he didn't practice every day. At that time, I think he was in year 10. Like he was up there. So, man, guys like that, like they didn't practice every day, but he showed up every day. And workout in a weight room to how he went and got stretched, how he had one locker just filled with like his different supplements, his workout bands, workout clothes, and all these different things. So just sitting next to him and just being able to watch, like, man, this is what a pro looks like. That was huge for me as a rookie.
I
Wow.
bet.
I want to talk a little bit about like just kind of reading up on you, look into you a little bit. It looks like you're very passionate about helping others, and it looks like you were coordinator of player development at Mizzou and high school dropout prevention specialist,
Yeah.
as well as head coach. So
Yeah.
just kind of curious what drove you towards that route, and what do you hope to instill in others on and off the field?
For me, I had a mentor of mine who played in the NFL a long time. His name was Darnay Scott. Very much of an uncle to mine. Played a long time in the NFL. And when I was in high school and I really started to take interest in playing the receiver position, it was him that, gave me words of encouragement and how to go about it. Even in the off season, he would try to, give me the workout, things of that sort. Uh, he always told me, because I told him, like, I'm going to make it and I'm going to pay you back. You know what I mean? If he bought me a little sweatshirt or, pair of shoes, something of that sort.
Mhm.
And his only thing he ever asked me to do is pay it forward. He's like, I don't need nothing back for you, pay it forward. And so for me to honor him, I always have kept this motto that I have to make sure I give it back to the next person or the next group of whoever I encounter with. And that's been my mission uh, in life, is to always give it back because he spent a lot of time with me. He gave me the things that got me to the next level, to change my family trajectory, that I want to make sure that I give it to him and show him that not only did I take your advice, that I'm living through your advice that you gave me.
Oh, wow, awesome. I just from your journey from high school ball to NFL, how did that I guess that influence you as a head coach? What kind of system did you run? And what were the things you were trying to do on the field?
Oh man, as a first year head coach, I tried to do it all myself.
Mhm.
I tried to run special teams. I tried to be offensive coordinator because I knew offense. Uh, and I installed the defense when I was working as a coordinator for player development before I got that job, I was doing grad assistant work as a D lineman coach at Mizzou. And so I sat in the D line room and I learned how to install a defense by being in the D lineman room. Everything is built either on offense from the front, and so uh, I just took things from the defensive room. And at the time, we had some dogs at the end from Shane Ray, Marcus Golden, and Charles Harris. And, you know what I mean? Like, we had some guys. So I'm seeing these guys perform. Like, you know what? I started to try to come up with my defensive philosophy if I ever became a coach, and want to expand my game on the knowledge of football, not just on offense. Like, I felt I play offense enough, been in many different systems. Like, I don't need to sit in the offensive room to know offense. I don't need to sit in the receiver room to play receiver. If I ever want to become a head coach, let me go and learn the defensive side. No different than someone to tell you if you want to become offensive coordinator, be a lineman coach or a tight end coach. They're going to teach you all the blocking scheme, all the passing schemes, which is key important things to know when you're talking about being a coordinator, right? And I gathered all those things in those 4 or 5 years I was there at Mizzou, and I brought it back. And the first year, I went 1-9 my first year as a head coach. Didn't have a lot of kids, definitely not no talent. And the next year, I went out. I hired the staff, man. I got every position, from quarterback coach all the way down to a special team coach. And I took that pressure off myself. And I just started holding myself accountable of knowing the things that I need to know as a head coach, and empower my coaches that I entrusted with teaching these young men the game of football. It's all about teaching. You get a lot of guys that set out who wants to, go out and win 100 state titles and all these things. But my goal after sitting in Columbia, both as a player and someone in player development, is how can I develop an overall player? That's someone that understands what they're going into college, understanding the college expectations, how to represent your families, then going out there being prolific on what you're doing in the game in itself, and that's knowing your position. So I harped on a lot. We had a lot of individual time in my time there, and it showed as years went on, and win a couple of league championships, game or two away from state championships over the years. And those are things that I tried to install in those young men, and getting them to see themselves going to the next level. And I think I did okay.
Awesome.
Sounds like it. That 1 and
Yeah.
9 must have been rough, man. I'm working on a 2 and 6 right now. It's not
Yeah,
fun.
it
Not
was.
fun at
It's a
all.
lot. It was more lessons learned in the 1-9 season than every other season before. And
Definitely.
that 1-9 season truly shaped me on what type of head coach I wanted to be. Because you can go in with an idea and try to stick to your guns on it, and something will never work. And uh, I went out. I was calling coaches that I knew at the next level at college. I leaned on Coach Pinkle. I called Coach Pinkle and just asking him, like, how did he go through losing season, and what were things that helped him with turning point as a coach. I think you have to lean on other coaches who went through those things when you're trying to build something, and then still try to stick to your guns on what you want your identity of your program to be. And I think I kind of did that.
For sure. I got much respect for head coaches, man. I seen that job. I'm not ready for that job yet. That's not an easy job, man. Just like you
Yeah,
said though, you wanted to take everything on. Like, I've been working with my head coach now for, I think this is my 6th year over there. And he's similar to that. And it's in our area, it's tough to get a lot of good coaches. So we are a little thin on the staff as a whole. But um, watching him just kind of try to do everything, I try to give him as much support as possible. And he's an offensive guy running the offense. So I try to give him as much, like, let him just focus on his offense, so I'll just take care of the defense for him. But it's, I mean, he's the only on campus coach too, so it's really tough for him.
yeah, yeah. That's a hard head to wear. But what I mean, it's one that when you know you're ready, you're ready. For me, I think I was ready then. I had been in different programs and working in basketball for years as an assistant to a state championships coach, Tony Earns, who now is coaching in the USA basketball. So I was able to learn a lot. And I tell anyone, if you're around winning programs, you can take no matter what sport it is. You can take from it and take the good that you see and what works. And I think I've done that from being next to him for almost 10 years and my own playing experience and combining all those things. What you don't know about the head coaching job is all the other things that come with the administration and uniforms and turns and how to coach a kid and how to, keep a kid into the game. I think you learn that as assistant on, keep working, your time will come, but the stuff that comes outside of sports is the part of head coaching that make you scratch your head.
Hmm. Definitely, I've seen some and heard some horror stories for sure.
Yeah.
How did you have to adjust when you went from when you were at Mizzou and you were doing that job? How did you have to adjust dealing with those D1 athletes every day and then now going back to the high school game and dealing with kids who weren't at that level for a program, especially you talk about you guys in your high school days were a more prolific program. But then by the time you get back there, it seems that obviously with that 1-9 season, it seems like things weren't going as well. Something may have happened in between. How did you kind of adjust to that and figure that out?
Well, for me, that time at Mizzou, sitting there and learning, uh, just one the development standpoint of the mental, wasn't so much the athletic ability. I think we all understand that if a kid is coming out there and he's putting on a helmet and shoulder pad like he wants to, right? What I learned at Mizzou was like, how do I get this kid to understand the process of becoming this great receiver or tight end or lineman? And it's really the mental capacity. And uh, going back to the high school level, I had to get the kids to understand what loving something means, right? We can all say, man, I love football. Like, do you understand what comes with football? The football just don't come with going out there in between those four white lines and practicing and sweating and like everything that comes with football is academics, the social history, how do you interact with your teammates, your behavior in the building, where do you see yourself going to college at, right? Are you taking care of yourself academically? Are you taking care of the things that you need to do at home? I always preach live clean for 48 hours, right? Live clean for 48 hours, more so 24 hours with high school. You don't have to worry about, you take care of your academics in school, you take care of what your mom or your dad is asking at home, whether it's take out the trash, clean your room. The next day, you don't have to worry about if looking over your shoulder if you made the right decisions. So that was my whole thing when I first established the program is teaching them how to live clean for 24 hours. We live in an era where, you got kids, they smoke, they got parents that smoke. We grew up in an era where people were drinking alcohol, right? So you had more alcohol abuse then. Now you having to live in a society where marijuana is open. A lot of the kids that now you have parents that smoke marijuana and they've been smoking since they was in elementary school. So you have to teach them the do's and don'ts of every aspect of life of wanting to be a spectacular student athlete that goes to college. You know, you get to college, it's everything in college, every tool, every resource that you need to help you become a better player, academically, socially, and on the field. But in high school is, can I make my mind think like I'm going to college and I'm living in college every day? That just hold them guys accountable. And I harped on that more than anything. I wanted you to be a better person uh, for yourself than an athlete. Because anyone can be an athlete, but anyone can be a special athlete. Special athletes have bright futures and go on and play at the next level and have success at the next level, whether they make it to the NFL or they graduate a college degree in engineering and become a successful engineer, right? How can I get you to become that? And so that was my biggest thing, especially being in the school that I was in, which is low poverty school. I couldn't hold up just being a great athlete. Like I needed you to be
Mhm.
a great man, right? Be a
Got it.
great man. You know what I mean? One day we all gonna be fathers, uncles to someone. Some of them play roles as fathers and uncles now, right? So I need you to be that now. I can't. I have to take you out of this 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old mindset as fast as possible. Like I can't allow you to stay there. You can be in a classroom next to someone that's 15, 16 years old, but they're not striving to try to go to college. You know, it's just their area that I was living in. So, well, coaching in, and that helped form what I had in my program and the kids that I was able to send off to school and to get texts and FaceTime calls from them like, Coach, man, everything you told me was right, and our practice schedule was just like how our practice schedule here in college. And I'm like, yeah, man, I try to prepare every aspect, film watching to private rooms, all these things into one so that you can understand what it is to go to college and how to be a student athlete in college.
That's awesome, man. Every school needs somebody like that that can do that for the kids. And I'm sure that getting those calls from your former players probably in the long run feels a lot better than the district championship and the wins that you had, just knowing that you made an impact for more than those 48 minutes on a Friday night, you know?
Yeah, man. It's amazing when you get those graduation invites or guys that I work with at Mizzou, man. I now get wedding invitations and asked to be in weddings, man. And that part is more amazing to me than, like you said, those games won. Uh, but those things are very special moments in players' life. I think we all go through times where you can win a game and yeah, we won, and you can remember what happened in that game, whether it was good or bad. But moments where this person would never forget, which is graduations and weddings and birth of childs. Those are some, you know what I mean, to be thought about in those moments. Those are more important to me than the wins.
Yeah, big life moments, huh?
Absolutely.
Um, I want to be mindful of your time, so I think we'll just ask one last question. Um, it looks like you own a bar called Whiskey on Washington. Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that came to be, and kind of what you guys are known for?
Well, we're known for whiskey, one. Me and my two best friends, I think it was like 2014, 2015, we were thinking of, we were going to get into a bar that was already open and want to just make sure we do something else us outside our careers to bring in another source of income and something that wouldn't be so rigorous on us. And we started looking for places. We found a place that we thought we was going to, take over ownership from a place that was currently open that didn't work. And so we just went to searching, and we finally found a place. And my one of my best friends, David Shanks, came up with the name Wow. And so, we not thinking much of it, but when we found the location, I was in Columbia, and so him and my other friend was here looking at places and locations. And when he found the place, we came up with the name, and it's like crazy how it all went together because it's on Washington and St. Louis. We went with whiskey instead of just a bar, and we wanted to go with whiskey because it's more of something that we had got introduced into, which was bourbon. And I can remember first time I ever had some whiskey, I was just like, man, this is different. In college, you do vodka, you do tequila, Jaeger, and all that stuff that's deep, and you don't really understand the upper echelons of liquor. And I remember going through the agency process and met a few agents, and they were, they were, and take me to nice places and it would be a whiskey place or a cigar place, and they would have whiskey. I got kind of introduced to it, and I took it back to my friends, like, "Hey, man, we got to start drinking this. This is what these people are drinking. This, is this." You know, you kind of went that way,
Yeah.
and it came out to, we found a location and the name of the bar, and we opened in 21 right after a pandemic, and we've been going strong since.
Nice. Is there
Awesome.
like a signature drink that y'all have or you
Man,
recommend?
we make the best old fashions in the world, man.
Mm, there we
Uh,
go.
that's
Love me a good old fashioned.
old fashions and Manhattans, like those are like our top sellers. Lemon drop for martini. Those who like martini, we have lemon drops. Wildmopolitan, which is a cosmopolitan with whiskey, so we call it wild. There was a Wildmopolitan. That's another top seller. Actually, my girlfriend, she came in and she started drinking Wildmopolitans, and here we are today. Um, it's
That's a great
That's
it's a
story,
unique
man.
story, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah, we stuck together now. She like my
Nice.
cocktails. Um, but yeah, man. So it's been special being a part of that with two of my best friends of owning that, and being back home in St. Louis for the amount of time I've been back home.
Nice. Awesome.
That's so dope,
Anything
man.
else you want to shout out or throw
No, I
out there?
appreciate you guys having me on, man. It's always
Yeah,
good to speak about it. I hope some people get to watch, and any questions they may have, they shoot you guys their way. We can answer it maybe on another time.
absolutely.
Always open to
Definitely, man.
helping to develop something great, help others, man. That's just kind of what's been embedded in me as a young man, and not so much young now. I'm 38 now, but um,
I'm still young.
yeah, I still
You're
I
still young, man.
just do my part in this here world, and uh, give it to the next person.
Awesome.
We appreciate it,
Appreciate it.
man. I uh I just found out you found your Twitter and you got a whole bunch of Mizzou stuff on there, so I'm gonna follow you because I try to keep as much college football stuff on my Twitter as possible.
Yeah. That's the best way to be, man. For me, I especially with Twitter, man, I follow so many coaches, whether it's high school or college or pro, because I'm still a student of the game, man. And you can always learn some, especially with Twitter, man. There's always a coach coming up with a new offensive concept, new defensive scheme, and
Hmm.
for me, always wanting to elevate myself and keep myself relevant in it for any given time that if I decide to coach again, that I'm right there in the mix.
For sure. For sure. Remember, guys, if you are thirsty in St. Louis, Missouri, check out Whiskey on Washington. They're gonna have something for you for sure.
Yeah.
They're gonna have something for you. I appreciate your time, man. You're awesome. Hopefully we could do this again. That would be dope.
Yeah. Just let me know, man. I'm always good. We'll figure out a good day and time, and we'll go from there.